A woman called me who lost her dog, and it was completely unexpected. And she wanted to do a 1 hour session with me to try to recover from her grief. So as soon as the session started, I realized that talking probably wasn't going to really cut it for her. So she told me a little bit about her dog. It was a little Pomeranian, and she was only 8 years old when she died. She had had some surgery a couple of months before, and she was at home, and she began to choke on her dinner. And my client held her in her arms and tried to help her release the choking, but she was unable to, and the dog died. So what I did with the client was I put her into a light hypnotic state, and we went, I did some visualization, and we went to a place where she could encounter her dog. And she sat down in the middle of the woods, and her dog came running up to her and jumped into her arms. Now, this was very beautiful. She began to kiss her all over, love all over her. My client was crying. She really felt it was very real. And we asked her, what was the purpose of your life? Because that's a question we often ask when somebody passes. And the dog said right away, being with you, I'm looking at my notes, being with you, giving you joy, being next to you, being your friend. And my client said to her, why did you have to die? And she said, it was just my time, which is often the answer that people give. It was just my time. And she said, I thought we'd have more time. And she said, I died when I did because I did not want to die in the hospital alone. I wanted to die in your arms. And so the client began to, really connect with the dog at this point. And I said to the dog, can you please give your owner some healing? And so the dog put her little paws on her neck, kind of right here, and pushed herself into her chest, into her heart, and just sort of hugged her and sent her love, and then kept kissing her all over her face. And my client was sobbing at this point. And she said to her dog, what am I supposed to do? This is a woman who's child-free. And she said this dog was really like a child for her. And she said, what am I supposed to do with all this love that I had for you? And the dog said, please give it to the world. And, it was this sense that the love that you had for me can now expand and spread out into the world, which I thought was super beautiful. And then she said, what are you doing over there? And the dog showed her like this, like, I'm just watching you, like I'm watching everything. I'm so curious. And my client kept saying, she's so happy. Like, I was really afraid she was suffering, but she's really happy. And, I explained when somebody passes to the other side, like, they're happy right away. And we're the ones who are just here suffering like crazy to miss them and to, wonder where they've gone, but they're totally fine. And so the client was just like, she's really happy. And that was a huge comfort to her to know that her dog was happy. And then the dog said to her, you'll be okay. Let yourself feel what you feel. And that was very good advice. And then my client said to the dog, like, I was really worried that you were suffering when you were choking. And I explained to the client that often Source is extremely merciful. And when a person is going to suffer a traumatic or difficult death, they often remove the spirit from the body before they can feel any of the pain. And so what the dog told her was, I didn't feel any pain during my choking and during my death. The only pain I felt was your suffering. And she said, I was so worried about your suffering that I didn't have time to think about my own, which I thought was really beautiful. Now, this is when it gets really fun. So she has her dog in a little urn, her little ashes. She was cremated. And I said to the client, where do you keep her ashes? And she said, I can't decide where to put them. I put them here, put them there. And I said, let's ask your dog. So she asked her dog, where do you want me to put your ashes? And the dog said instantly, I want to be under the bed. I want you to put me right under the bed where I used to sleep. And this shocked my client. She was like, the answer came so fast and felt so real. And I think it was at that moment that she realized she wasn't making the whole thing up because the answer was so unexpected. We also asked the dog, what was your favorite thing to do while you were here? And she said, go out in the car with you. It wasn't going to the park. It wasn't dinner time. It was when you would take me on an adventure in the car. So those things were all really wonderful. Now, she asked her, can I get another dog? How do you feel about that? And her dog said, I'm fine with whatever you want to do. It's not about me. Do it when it's the right time for you. And she said, will you come back to me? And she said, if you want me to, I will. But, we can give somebody else a chance. I'll always be here with you no matter what anyway. Now, I want to talk about the part that I thought was really, really cool. So at the very end of the session, we talked about the idea of taking love, like once we have experienced what it is to feel love, taking that to the next level. And I remember this happened to me as a mother. Like after a certain point, I realized I was kind of channeling this universal love. My love that I was feeling for my own children and my own family and my own life was so big that I had to give it to more people. It was just that my heart had expanded. And so I said to her, what your dog is telling you is that your heart has expanded so much that you are ready to give this love to more people. And she indeed said, she does some healing work. And she said, I really want to give to more people. That's the exact feeling that I have in my life. And then I said, what if the purpose of your dog's death was for not only you to give more people love, but also for me to make a recording about this so that other people who've lost their pets and feel this terrible sadness can know that they also have the ability to do this. So in that one moment, your dog becomes a huge healer and a huge teacher, which I thought was really cool. So I also told her, now that you know how to do this, I told her, just do the method that we did to connect with your dog. You can see her anytime you want. And right before we left, we went and put her to bed. And I asked her to take us to the place where she sleeps. And she was sleeping in the forest under a tree. And she had a little bed of leaves. And she curled up in the leaves. And my client pet her and she went to sleep. And so we said goodbye to her and promised her that her owner, whatever you want to call them, would be back. So that was a wonderful session I wanted to tell you about. Hope everybody's well.